when you're done, all you'll need to do is just close the presentation and close the go-to, and
Okay.
everything will be fine, okay?
Gotcha.
But I'm going to leave this up while I'm on my other call. So if
All right,
you need
sounds
anything, just let me know.
Okay. You can.
All
Oh my
righty.
God.
All righty.
Hi, David. Can you hear me?
Did you say David?
Hey, David. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Doing well. What do you want to be when you grow up, David?
Say again.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
What do I want to be when I grow up? Unfortunately, I'm already half a century in this world, so I'm actually coming back into the legal field.
You're into the legal field. So what compelled you to go to school and get into the legal field?
Retired law enforcement, military. My 13-year-old daughter said you don't realize how hard it is in school, Dad. I said, okay, well, let me tell you. I'll go back to college, get my associates and my bachelor's, and then I'll go to law school. How's that? So that's what got me coming back.
Oh, wow. So I assume the next step is going to be law school.
Yes. In Florida, you're required to have your bachelor's, and then Nova University, which is in Deerfield Beach, Florida, you have to register and then start 5 more years of school.
I bet you're excited about that.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, think about that. We'll talk later about that.
Okay.
Well, that's cool. Congratulations. That's a great story.
Thank you.
Why'd you choose South, David?
I'm sorry?
Why did you choose South?
One more time. It's hard.
Sure. I probably talked too quickly. So why did you decide to come to South?
South University, at the time when I was, let me see, I started in July 2018. I looked at different, online programs because I'm a full-time Florida licensed realtor. So I still had to do my work and take care of my daughter. So I found it easier with South. Reason being, some of these universities wanted me to jump through all these Wonderlic. You got to remember, the last time I was in a college course was when I was in law enforcement back in 2000 or 1999. So now they wanted to take all these different placement tests, and I just wanted to get started back on, give me my degree. So I thought it was a waste of time. As far as doing all this preliminary stuff, I mean, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but there is new technology that I needed to know.
Right. Awesome. All right, I've got 10 o'clock. I'm a firm believer in starting on time. This is my first webinar I've done, so forgive me for any missteps that may happen over the next few minutes. Evan Campbell just joined. So I'm going to leave your mic open. I'm trying to open Evan's now, but it's not working. So if you have any questions, interrupt me, because obviously I can't see you. I tend to go a little quickly and get a little carried away. So just stop me if you have any questions. Let me bring Evan in. Evan, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing well. Where are you?
I am at my house, Salem. It's northeastern Ohio.
Fantastic. So that means you're an Ohio fan. Ooh, I lived in Michigan. I lived in Michigan for a while, so I don't think we need to go down that road any further. What do you want to be when you grow up, Evan?
I actually spent a few years down in Cincinnati, and then I moved up here. Been up here for the past 14 years or so.
Fantastic. So if it's okay with you, I've got David on the call. You're on the call. I'm going to leave your mics open because I want you to have the opportunity to stop, ask questions along the way, because I kind of get crazy into this presentation. So feel free to stop me at any time if you have any questions. Sound like a deal?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Understood.
All right, David, when do you graduate?
I'm sorry?
When do you graduate, David? When do you graduate?
That's a good question. I fast-tracked my legal ground, started in August 22nd. So I have a full schedule starting from 1 till 9:30. So the projected schedule was preliminary, I think it was 2020 of September, but I don't think that's correct.
Okay. Evan, how about you? When do you finish up?
They projected originally 2020 of September. I took on more classes, so it's looking more like June or July.
Fantastic. All right, let's get this show on the road. I sit in Columbia. I'm the Director of Career Services for Columbia. I'm also responsible for career services at a satellite campus, and that campus is Montgomery. I have the fortunate opportunity of servicing about 13 to 1,400 students. This is without a doubt the best job I've ever had in my career, to where I see students work hard to obtain their degree and then have the opportunity to work with them to get them in that first job in their new field. And I get paid for it. So for me, it is a dream come true. I can't wait to get to work in the mornings, and I find it difficult to go home because of what I do for the students on a daily basis. It's a great place to be, and I love South. So each of you have access to the Edge, and if you have any questions about writing a resume, I strongly encourage you to create an account on the Edge. It is the best tool I've seen that meets the students where they are to create a resume that gets the attention of a hiring manager. I have seen resumes before the Edge. They look like a resume written in crayon. And I've seen the same resume that's gone through the Edge, and it is an amazing work of art. And I am seeing students get the interviews based on a resume from the Edge. So if you have any questions about the Edge, I will give you guys my email address at the end. I will also give you my phone number. Don't hesitate to call, and I can help you along those lines. Here in Columbia, we live to be abnormal. Mental health counseling students really like that. But normal is not a very good place to be. Here in Columbia, there are 57 people applying for every single job you see on Indeed, 57. So we're going to talk about this morning, what can you do to be different? All things being equal, if you have the qualifications they're looking for, if you have the experience, education, soft skills that a hiring company is looking for, what can you do to be different? How can you be abnormal in the process and beat out those other 56 other people? You can choose to be normal, but normal is just a setting on a dryer. And what does a dryer do all day? Sits in a dark closet and spits lint. So I challenge you guys. Some of this stuff is going to be like, well, I don't think that's going to work. It has proven itself time and time again on this campus that people that follow these steps get hired quicker. And I know you don't want to be eating ramen noodles and drinking water the rest of your life. So let's get into this thing. There are 3 inevitabilities in life. What's 2 of them? Do you guys know 2 of them? One is death. One is taxes. And the third one is the very first question you're going to be asked in a professional interview. Tell me a little bit about yourself. An employer does not want to hear about cars. They don't want to hear cats. They don't want to hear about kids. Your story will be uniquely your own. And your story will consist of anybody that's encouraged you, the reason why you got into the field of study you're in, and what brings you to sit across from that hiring manager. It needs to be personal. It needs to be emotional. So you can make an emotional connection with that hiring person at the beginning of the interview. We have occupational therapy here on this campus. And just as I was doing with both of you guys, I walked into our OTA class and said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And why do you want to be an OTA? And there's a student that told me the story about her father. Her father was involved in an accident. Had a stroke. Her father had a stroke. He was bound to a wheelchair. He couldn't do anything on his own. They found an occupational therapist that pushed him beyond what he thought was possible. And after 1 year of working with that OT, her father was able to cook, clean, shower, and do everything on his own. That's a story. So you need to develop a story that's uniquely you, that will grab the attention of your hiring manager from the very beginning when they ask you the question. So tell me a little bit about yourself. When you apply for a job, an employer is going to go to 2 places. They're going to go to Facebook and they're going to go to LinkedIn. So if you don't have a LinkedIn account, you need to start working on that now. Let's talk about Facebook. People put some crazy stuff out there on Facebook. It's just, I'm sure you guys have seen some of that. When I started looking for a job, I was director of career services at ECPI before I had the fortunate opportunity to move here. ECPI was going through some financial issues, and it was like that little voice inside my head was like, maybe you need to be proactive and start looking. So I put my resume together and I went through my Facebook page. And this happened back in late 2016 at the last presidential election. And let me tell you something, there's not enough bleach in a 55-gallon drum to clean up my Facebook page. I was passionate about what was going on, didn't mind who read what I put out there on Facebook. So my best course of action when I started looking for a job was to completely deactivate my page. So just be conscious of what you're putting out there, because an employer is going to more than likely 2 out of 5. The slide says 2 out of 5. I think it's much higher than that. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 9 out of 10 employers would check you out on Facebook. So again, be conscious of what you're putting out there. If your email address is partygirl@gmail.com, I want you to stop what you're doing right now, and I want you to change your email address. I strongly recommend you have an email address specifically for job searching, and I strongly suggest that that email address contain your name. Now, my mama decided to spell my name differently, so I got lucky when I created my personal Gmail account and was able to use my first and last name without any extra letters, numbers, or anything like that. So my personal email account is danny.lax@gmail.com. So got pretty lucky there. I was looking to hire a CSA up in Richmond when I was at ECPI. This great resume hit my box. And so I opened it up and it was like the angels in heaven were singing. It was just the best possible candidate that could serve as a CSA on that campus. So I picked up the phone, I called this person, and their voicemail box was full. Do you think I called that person back?
No.
No, absolutely not. And so what you're telling your hiring manager is, I cannot pay attention to detail. If I can't empty out my inbox, then I'm not going to serve you and your projects to the best of my ability. So already you're sending a negative message even before you get the interview. Your voicemail that goes out on your phone, please have it generic. Be careful what you put in there. Keep in mind that not every hiring manager out there may share your views or your opinions. So just keep it basic. Mine, if you were to call my phone right now, it's always the same. It's the generic AT&T greeting that gives you my phone number, and that's it. So just be careful of your outgoing voicemail message. Any questions?
No, sir.
All right. So now you've got the interview. It's important to get some information. Obviously, you want to know what time, ask them where you should park, know how many people you're going to interview with, and what type of interview it's going to be. And you will see on the right-hand side, to prepare for the interview, it says, meet with Danny for a mock interview. The career services person on your campus is trained and will help you prepare for the interview. I cannot tell you how important it is to meet with them to do a mock interview. Here on this campus, I will do a mock interview when my student has a real interview. I don't like to pretend. They send me a copy of the job description so I can tailor that mock interview for that particular job. One important thing you want to do is you want to do a drive-by. Now, here in Columbia, one of the little, I don't want to call it a suburb because we're not that large, but one area outside the city is Harbison. And to get to downtown Columbia, and you live in Harbison, you have to go through a stretch of road that we call Malfunction Junction. And it is just what it sounds like. There are more accidents in the state of North Carolina at that stretch of road than anywhere else. It is, I'm trying to keep it clean. It's just, I cannot describe to you the malfunction with Malfunction Junction. So if you live in Harbison and you have to be at South University at 8:30 in the morning for an interview, you better do a drive-by because it's going to take you an extra amount of time to get here. So I, again, strongly recommend that you do a drive to the location so that you know how much time it takes to get there. So here are some things that you need to have ready for the interview. Your resume, even though they have a copy, you're going to take them a copy. If they require a cover letter, then you're going to bring your cover letter. A list of references and a letter of recommendation. Yes, you're taking all this to your interview. You're going to take an unofficial copy of your transcript. You can get a free copy of that from your academic advisor or your career services director. Any licenses or certifications that the job requires. And then you're going to keep thank you notes out in your car. We're going to talk about that in just a minute, and dress professionally. Here on the campus, any student that has a mock interview with me, we put together a brag book. We put together a brag book for every single person that's going to be in that interview. And that brag book contains on page 1, if they want a cover letter, will be your cover letter. Page 2 will be the resume. Flip the page, it's the letter of recommendation. Flip the page, it's your reference letter or your professional references. After that is going to be your unofficial transcript. Following your transcript is going to be any certifications that you need for this job. You're going to take this brag book to the people you're interviewing with, and when you walk into the office, you're going to put it down in front of them. You're not going to tell them what it is. You're not going to reference it in any way. They're going to look down at that, and what's the first thing they're going to do?
We're going to open it.
Absolutely. They're going to open it up, take a look at it, see your resume, your letter of recommendation, your transcripts, all that good stuff to say that you're the best thing in the world since sliced bread. Let me tell you something. All things being equal, you have the talent they're looking for, you have the experience they're looking for, you have the soft skills they're looking for. No one else interviewing for that job will bring a brag book. So instantly, you stand out above everyone else they've interviewed, and that's the name of the game. Questions about a brag book?
No, sir.
Moving right along. So there are different types of interviews, of course. A lot of times now, the very first interview will be a phone screen, and you need to treat your phone screen just like a real live face-to-face interview. You've got a panel interview, which sounds a little bit intimidating, and yep, it is. That's why it's important that you need to see your director of career services on your local campus to do a mock interview. Interview with assessment, that's oftentimes just some testing that they want you to do. Many times that's done before you get to the interview stage, but they're just checking to make sure that you have the competencies that they need in a person to be successful in the job. And of course, we're going to put together some general questions and behavioral questions. We'll go over that in just a minute. Let me tell you about my first interview here at South. I was living in Richmond at the time, and Dr. David Shoup was our campus president. And he sent me an email, hey, we'd like to talk to you. I'm like, sure, let's talk. So we set up a time. It was 3 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon. I was excited, got to leave work early, came home, put the dog in the backyard, turned my music off, duct taped my kid's mouth and put him in a closet. And so as the time got closer, I had my resume out, I had my prepared questions, and my cell phone sitting there. So at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my phone rang. It was an 803 area code. That's the moment I learned that the area code for Columbia is 803. I picked up my cell phone and I answered it. How do you think I answered the phone? Take a guess.
Professionally. Well, if that was the first moment you realized I was from Columbia, you probably might have just answered it like normal.
Okay. David, I think it was you that said professionally. Define professionally. How do you look at professionally?
I would have said, good afternoon. I've been standing by waiting for your call.
Okay. Wow, that's, I think you're looking at my notes here. Keep in mind, all things being equal, what can you stand out above everyone else that's interviewing for that job? I took a gamble. I answered my phone and I said, good afternoon, Dr. Shoup. I hope you're having a good day. I think that was like a gut punch to him because he was like, didn't know what to say or what to do from that point. But I did something that he will remember when it comes to finalizing candidates and making choices. He remembered that I answered the phone differently. All things being equal, what can you do to set yourself apart? Make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So we talked about, tell me about yourself. Some of these questions are just crazy, I will admit to you, but you need to be prepared to answer crazy questions. And we're going to talk about HR people here in just a little while. They can be a unique group of people, but here are some of the questions that you may get asked. Have you guys ever been asked these questions? If you were an animal, what would you be? Anybody ever had that question?
I haven't.
Yeah. David, you?
Yeah. I'm getting a little feedback on what was the question again?
So, have you ever been asked in an interview, if you were an animal, what would you be?
No.
Yeah, no. Yes. Who would answer that question? I mean, who would ask that question? It's just crazy. but you have to be prepared for anything and have to move quickly and come up with an answer. I don't even know how I would answer that question if I was asked. Behavioral questions. You know, HR people, they sit in a corner of the office. They have a light bulb hanging down on an electrical cord from the ceiling. Their cubes are full of dust and stuff like that. These people are crazy. And I can say this because I used to be in HR. And so they sit in those dusty cubes with that light bulb hanging down from the ceiling, sitting around thinking of behavioral questions to ask every day. And even though some of them are difficult and some of them are crazy, you still need to prepare to answer the questions. Again, encourage you to see your local director of career services. They will go over specific behavioral questions that relate to your job. What's a behavioral question? Tell me about a time when you saw this happen and how did you react? Or tell me about a time when you were behind on a deadline and what did you do to catch up? Those type of behavioral questions need to be ready to answer. If you have never experienced what they're asking for in a behavioral question, do not make anything up. Simply state, you know, I've never had that to deal with. This is how I would handle the situation. Don't want to lie about anything in your interview. Salary and benefit questions. Hopefully that's not going to come up at your first interview, but eventually they are. Don't ask about benefits because the president of the company is going to be getting the same benefits you are, and there's nothing they can do to change them. So just roll with it. Whatever benefits they offer, say thank you very much and keep going. A lot of times, salary will come up way too early in the discussion. And if it comes up too early, particularly in your first interview, you need to answer or respond by what you see in green. I am more interested in learning about the opportunity, and I'm sure the salary you come up with will be fair and equitable. Because you've got HR sitting there and they want to keep all their money and stick it back in their account. And you're sitting across from the table from them and you want all that money in your direct deposit. So once you talk about salary, the learning experience stops. Everybody gets tight-lipped and gets, you know, just it's a very uncomfortable situation. So if the salary portion comes too early in the interview, if you're not talking to HR, just say, I am more interested in learning about the opportunity. I'm sure the salary you come up with will be fair and equitable. Now, there is going to be a time when you need to discuss salary. And I'm telling you right now, never, ever, ever say a number unless they just press you hard against the wall. Your best go-to is if the posted job has a salary range. Let's say that salary range is between $50,000 and $65,000. And they ask you, what are you looking to make in this opportunity? And you're talking to HR and it's the right time to be discussing salary. You simply acknowledge that salary range. I noticed in your posting that the salary range is between $50,000 and $65,000, and I'm comfortable with any offering in that limit or in that range. Never say a number. If there is no salary range included in the job description, your best resource is to go to Glassdoor and do research on salaries in your area with the job that you're going to be getting. You will get a salary range from Glassdoor of what people are actually making in that role. And so you use those numbers. And you tell the person that you're interviewing with, HR, I did research on Glassdoor and people in Columbia and the director of career services role are making between this and this, and I'm comfortable with that number, with anything in between there. Because what if you walk into an interview and they ask you the question, how much money do you want to make? And you say, you know what, I would make $300,000. And you see the HR people skipping down the hallway, going back to their, you know, light bulb hanging down cubes, excited as they could possibly be because they were ready to offer you $350,000. same scenario. How much money do you want to make? I want to make $300,000. What if the best they could offer you was $295,000? Now, get rid of all those extra zeros. And you could have either lost the job you wanted or left money on the table. That's why it's important to never say a number first. This particular job I'm in now, Dr. Shoup, I had a buffet interview. They flew me down from Richmond. I interviewed with 15,000 people that day. And at the end of the day, Dr. Shoup asked everyone else in the room to leave the room, and I knew what was coming. And I had done my homework. And Dr. Shoup said, Danny, how much money are you looking to make? I said, according to my research, Dr. Shoup, the lowest paid director of career services in Columbia makes this. The highest paid makes this. The median salary for career services director in Columbia is this. The lowest paid director of career services makes this. And I shut my mouth. There was an awkward silence, but I kept my mouth shut. He came back with a number, and I looked at him and told him that you're going to have to do a little bit better. And guess what? He did a little bit better. I left Columbia to fly back to Richmond to start packing with an offer, start date, salary, and I never said a number. So it's possible to happen. Do you have any questions about salary?
No, sir.
So there are 3 important questions that you're going to ask in every single interview for the rest of your life. The very first question will be, tell me about a typical day. I had a student in Richmond. She was on our LPN program. She wanted to work at Chippenham Hospital. And she came and did her mock interview with me, and she went skipping down the hallway because she was so excited about the opportunity to work at Chippenham. She went to the interview, she had her brag books, and she gave them brag books and the whole 9 yards. And so she sat down and they tell me a little bit about yourself, and she nailed it. And they said, Nicole, do you have any questions? And she said, yes. My first question is, tell me about a typical day. And the answer to that question was, this particular LPN team does bedpan services for 2 floors of this hospital. Now, that's not what the job description said. Job descriptions are written by those crazy people who sit over there with the light bulb hanging down from the ceiling, and they use flowery words, and they have never done that job a day in their life. So it's important that the very first question you ask is, tell me about a typical day, because the person you're sitting across from at that interview has done that job, is currently doing that job plus their job because they're short-staffed. They will be honest with you and tell you exactly what you'll be doing on a daily basis. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
All right. Second question you're going to ask at every single interview for the rest of your life is, why is this position open? You want to hear an answer that we have promoted the person that was in the role. A good answer to hear is that our company is growing and we're bringing on new staff members so that we can maintain our level of service to our clients. You don't want to hear the last person in this role jumped off the roof. The third question you will ask at every single interview for the rest of your life is, how will my success be measured? By asking that question, you can walk into that job on day one and start working to prove your value and your success to that company. Now, there's going to be other questions that are important to you that you will want to know. And of course, you will ask those questions. You've got to make sure it's a right fit for you, as well as the employer, it's a right fit for them. Do I need to, I tell the students here at Columbia, casual, no way, no how, don't even think about it. I tell my students, this middle picture, don't even think about it. Remember, all things being equal, how can you set yourself apart? Go professional, go dress to the nines. If your lifelong ambition is to be a cashier at Walmart, first of all, I commend you because you have more patience than I do. But you would still go into this interview dressed professionally. because everyone else may go in looking like the middle people. Do what you can to stand out. Pay attention to your appearance. Please take a shower, use deodorant. Make sure your tie is on straight. Avoid heavy perfume or colognes. Funny story. I was interviewing for the CSA up in Richmond, and the person I was interviewing came in, and I could smell him from my desk. Thank God it was a good cologne, but I think he took a bath in it and didn't use water. And the funnier part of the story is that I actually hired him. He was that good, and I overlooked the fact that he took a bath in his cologne. Clean and polish your shoes. I wish you guys could see me, because every time I do this here on campus, I take my shoe. When you do your shoes, when you polish your shoes for an interview, I want you to include the sole of your shoes. I've conducted a lot of interviews in my career. And what I do is when I go out to the lobby to meet someone, the first thing I look at is their appearance. Is their tie straight? Are the shirt pressed? Can they put it all together? Second thing I look at is that I'm reaching for their hand to shake their hand. I look at their shoes. If their shoes are shined, if the sole of their shoe is polished, then they pay attention to detail. And if they have gone to that length to impress me in an interview, just think of what they're capable of doing to a project I assigned them to on my team. So the little things matters. Do I need to talk about this next slide? I'm thinking maybe not. Yeah. Let's talk about.
Can you hear me?
What's that?
Can you hear me, Danny?
Yes, I can hear you.
I apologize. Of course, in Florida, I lost power. It's not even raining yet, but
Oh my God.
I caught most of it. I used my iPhone, but I'm back on my computer.
Okay, glad to have you back, man. Let's talk about what not to do at an interview. Obviously, no eating or drinking, chewing gum. No, please don't. I don't care if you have crawled across the Sahara Desert for this interview. Do not take the water or coffee they ask you or they offer you. If you're anything like me, you will find a way to spill it on the person you're interviewing with. And you want to be known for the person that is qualified for the job, not the person that spilled coffee on the boss. So don't. I used to be a smoker. I know the challenges associated with smoking. Quitting smoking was one of the hardest things I have ever done in my life. So I said that so no one feels that I'm preaching at them, but when it comes time for an interview, if you smoke in your house, leave your clothes outside. I don't know about you, but it's warm enough in Colombia all year long for that to be a good thing. But and then once you get ready, no cigarettes. Smoking now is very taboo to companies, so go that 2 or 3 hours without lighting up. Be polite to the receptionist. I had a client in Richmond that when it was an interview time, the director of HR would come out and pretend to be the receptionist so they could see how a candidate treated the receptionist. When you pull onto that property, you are interviewing. Stand and greet the interview with a firm handshake. And of course, don't get too comfortable. Sorry, I didn't shut off all my phones. A lot of people don't think about what to do about closing the interview. So you've been at the interview now. If it's a 30-minute interview, it's maybe minute 23, 25. You've asked your questions. There's been a lot of back and forth, hopefully good. Hopefully you've made a great impression. You've given them the brag book. You've all things being equal, you've exceeded their expectation. And it's time to go. That person probably has a conference call. They got another meeting, another interview. They are done with you. But they're going to be courteous and they're going to ask one more question, but the inflection will be different. So they'll say something to the effect of, David, Are there any other questions you have? Or they may word it, Evan, is there anything else you need to know? And that's your cue to give this answer. Don't blow it, give it too early in the interview, but you want to ask for the job. I have one more question. I'm very interested in the opportunity. What are the next steps in the process? You have told them, I want this job, and they're about to give you a roadmap for follow-up. So write down what they say. Do not go home. You're going to go to Walmart, CVS, I don't care where you go, but you're going to get a blank thank you card for everyone that you interviewed with. And you're going to do a handwritten thank you note. Dear Dr. Shute, thank you for taking time from your busy schedule to talk with me about the Director of Career Services on the Columbia campus. I'm excited about the opportunity and look forward to hearing back from you. Danny, you're going to put it in the mail that day. It is one of the most important things you will do to get this job. Stick with me. It's 2 days after your interview. The person you interviewed with is overworked. Their spouse, significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, I don't care who it is yelling at them because they're having to work more hours. They are at their desk and they are working just crazy busy. They have forgotten who you are. Let someone from the mailroom come and hand them a handwritten note. Their world is going to stop. They are going to open that handwritten note. They're going to read it and see your name. This is 2 days after the interview. Now tell me, who's the number one person for that job? You are. They remember your brag book. They probably reach to find your brag book and go through it again. Sending a thank you note the same day of your interview is one of the most important things you can do to get the job. Everyone sends a thank you email, but again, all things being equal, what are you going to do to stand out above everyone else who's interviewing for this job? What questions do you guys have for me?
I think you covered the topic very well, actually.
Thanks, David. I appreciate that.
Danny, I thought you did a phenomenal job. You mentioned something about the HR coming up with these questions, being a paralegal and knowing some of the law, reference what they can and cannot say legally. Do they
Yes.
go through this protocol?
Yeah, most HR people, well, let me reel that back in. All HR people are very familiar or should be very familiar with what they can ask and what they can't ask. So I pay very little attention to that when I'm talking to students about a mock interview. I've been doing this for, let's just say a long time. And I've never had a candidate come back to me and say, they violated EEOC or ask a question associated with EEOC or any other question like that. So with what's happened in HR and how it has evolved, that's not going to happen in the days. It probably happened 20 years ago, but it's not going to be happening today because they have to be up to date on everything and really don't want to get sued for asking something they're not supposed to ask.
That's right. And I just wanted to get clarification because you still get, I still look at case law and you still are getting, HR still getting sued for, questions as simple as, are you a single mother or will you have kids? And they filed a lawsuit.
Yeah. That's something I go over with my single mothers here. I do tell them that if they do ask you if you're a single mother, I don't encourage them to blow the whistle. What I encourage them to do is answer the question like this. Yes, I'm a single mother, and I have all the support in place to where that's not going to negatively impact my ability to do the job. But at the same time, when they, after the interview, they need to consider whether or not they want to work in an environment where that's an issue.
Correct. Yeah. I agree.
Good question. I want to give you guys my phone number. I want to give you my email address. First things first, always go to your local career services person. If you have someone there on your campus, there's a couple of campuses where we don't have director of career services and someone else is taking care of that service for our students. But if you want a copy of this presentation, if you want to talk more about a brag book or anything like that, do not hesitate to give me a call. Don't give me a call, send me an email. I'm horrible with voicemail. I'm surprised that the red light on my phone hasn't burnt out. So the best way to reach me is via email. It's a very hectic time right now. We are in the midst of cap and gown distribution. I have Grad Fest tomorrow night. I'm preparing for that. So where it may take me a couple of hours to get back to you, it now may take me a day or two. So my email address is E as in Edward, Lacks, LACKS, at southuniversity.edu. My phone number is 803-935-4417.
Dan, is there any way you can put that email on the notes? Because unfortunately, through my law enforcement throwing in flashbangs before, my hearing's bad, so I get words mixed up, letters.
Mm-hmm. If I can do what? Say that again.
If you can put a note where I'm raising my hand or and put that email in for us.
Oh, got it. I just saw that. I think there's some way I can, my first time, so again, be gentle with me, be gentle. David, hang on. David, what campus are you at?
I'm down in West Palm Beach, Florida.
Leal?
Yes, sir.
L.
Hey, Danny, it's Ebony. I'm back. I'm going to be in the chat box. What's your phone number again?
My phone number, 803-935-4417.
Okay. Okay, if you look down in the chat box, it's in there. His email address and his phone number.
Got it.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
Thank you very much.
Guys, best of luck to you. I look forward to hearing about you finishing up and going on to greater and greater things after South University.
Very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.